stones are alive. The beating bracken covered lichen encrusted hearts, they call. Dolmens, menhirs, quoits, cairns, portal chambers, stone rows, stone circles, each with their own distinctive melody.
I think it's that feeling of being connected to something that's so much older than you, and the fact that I can stand in a space that would have been really familiar to my ancestors all that time ago.
I think I'll say the word connection.
I think the strongest word for me is remembering.
Ancient stone sites have intrigued us for millennia. Growing up in Cornwall, I heard tales and folklore. 9 maidens turned to stone for dancing, Pied Pipers and giants. I've always harboured a curiosity towards these sites, and through my journey, hope to uncover the wisdom that these stones hold for us in the modern world, alongside reconnecting with my Cornish heritage and identity. Beginning in West Penwith, which contains the greatest concentration of standing stones and prehistoric sites than any other part of the British Isles. Boscawen or Boscanin, is a Bronze Age stone circle consisting of 19 upright stones in an ellipse with a distinctive leaning middle stone. 18 of the stones are hewn from granite, with the 19th stone made of quartz. The name Boscanin derives from the Cornish word bos for farmstead and scawen for elder or elderberry tree. I'm meeting with Elizabeth Dale, author of The Cornish Bird.
My name's Elizabeth Dale. I'm a Cornish writer, blogger, and I also have a podcast as well. I write under the name The Cornish Bird, and I've been writing my blog now for about 8 years, all about all kinds of wonderful aspects of local history.
What started your love for exploring ancient sites?
So it all really comes from my father, actually. He has a real interest in some of the ancient sites in Cornwall, and when I was a kid, if we ever had a day away, he would take us either down here on Penwith or up on Bodmin Moor, and we'd go tramping through the undergrowth looking for some big rock or other. And he was the one that really fostered my love for it. I first visited Boscawen back in the 90s, and it was quite different then. It was very overgrown in the centre. It's been cleared a lot since then, and that's fab because obviously you can see the site much better these days. What they've discovered quite recently is there are actually some carvings on the sort of inner face of that stone. In 2015, a guy called Tom Goska scanned the whole stone with like photogrammetry scanners, and they'd initially been thought that these carvings were of axe heads, but they've now decided that they're actually feet, and they're really hard to pick out with your eye, but you can see there's one foot just there and the other foot is just there, and there are 2 sort of lumps above which are perhaps interpreted as ladies' boobies.
Oh,
it's a fascinating part of this circle.
Why do you think people are so drawn and fascinated to these ancient stones?
I think part of it is the mystery that surrounds them. I mean, everybody has got so many questions, and there's so many unanswered questions, I suppose, about these sites, and there's so many myths and legends that are attached to them as well. And they're always sort of in beautiful places in the countryside. They're really calm and quiet, and kind of meditative spots, and a lot of people just love them for those reasons. And of course there's the archaeological interest as well. Just the sheer age of them, I think, is incredible.
Next, I visit Lanyon Coit to speak to James Kitto.
My name's James Kitto. I'm the chair of CASPAN, the Cornish Ancient Sites Protection Network. I was born in Penzance. Much of my ancestry is here in West Penwith, and this is where my heart beats the loudest. It all began when I was about 10 years old, and my primary school headmaster and teacher at the time, Mr. Tony Rule, did a project on ancient Cornwall with our class. And he brought us down here to West Penwith to visit some of the ancient sites, and it just lit a fuse for me, a passion that's stayed with me ever since. I was also very lucky. I had a family that were very supportive in my interests. Grandparents and my great uncle used to drive my brother and myself around to different sites, so we could visit and photograph them. And actually, my grandparents lived at Lanyon Farm, and I've actually got a photograph of them here with the quoit from about 1903. So, passion is sort of in my DNA, I think.
Yeah.
I ask how Caspin came to be.
It was born back in 1997 when a group of concerned individuals got together following an attack on one of the stones of the Merry Maidens stone circle. Someone tried to pull it up. So it became a charitable trust in the year 2000, and that also followed a couple of fire attacks on Lanyon Point here and the Meyn Drudh. So Caspin's work was really to protect, preserve and promote West Cornwall's ancient sites. I think because they're so ancient, they give us a connection with our ancestors from generations ago. Most of the time I visit these sites, I don't see anybody else. You're just there on your own. It gives you that sort of mindfulness. I think really just to treat them with respect, to leave only footprints, take only photographs. And we've got a saying in Caspin, which is, don't change the site, let the site change you.
Meyn Drudh, Cornish for Stone of the Hole, stands as an enduring testament to time, with roots believed to reach back to the Neolithic or Bronze Ages. Some believe it to be the remnant of a stone circle or an entryway to an ancient burial chamber. It is rich with tales of magical rituals and healing practices. Hold stones have been associated with fertility and healing because of the energies believed to be stored within their granite bodies. Children were passed through the stone as an act of baptism, as well as to cure illness such as rickets, passing through the hole 9 times against the sun. Next on my journey, we head to Bodmin Moor. Among a scattering of derelict tin mines in the wilds of Bodmin Moor, just outside the quaint village of Minions, stands not one but 3 ancient stone circles whose name comes from a local Cornish legend. The hurlers, legend states, that men were playing a game of the traditional Cornish hurling when they were magically transformed into stones as punishment for playing on a Sabbath. Furthermore, just west of the 3 circles, 2 large menhirs stand like gateposts and are known as the Pipers, yet more rebellious locals, 2 musicians playing their pipes on a Sabbath. It's likely that this Bronze Age site was of much more significance, being used for ritual and ceremony, in other words, activities deemed pagan and unacceptable to early Christians, hence the cautionary tale. Similar legends aren't uncommon in Cornwall. The surrounding countryside is peppered with other ancient ceremonial remains in the shape of cist, barrows and standing stones. We continue along a scenic path that leads to a windswept rocky tor. The Cheese Ring is a curious formation that has intrigued geologists for centuries. Comprised of a set of granite stones stacked on top of each other at Stowe's Hill on Bodmin Moor, the Cheese Ring measures 20 foot tall and its granite slabs are as large as 30 feet wide. Its distinctive shape has been debated over time by experts, but is thought to be the result of weather erosion over hundreds, if not thousands of years. King Drudh stone, Meyn Drudh, and the other half stone are parts of early Celtic medieval crosses dated from the late 9th century, which historians believe was a monument to the last known Cornish king. King Drudh was also known as Drudh and Drudh. They are said to mark the place where he was laid to rest more than 1,000 years ago. This stone and the one next to it are the only surviving examples of 9th century stone crosses in Cornwall. Kernowek is a nature retreat based on ancient wisdom earth energies, featuring stone circles amongst acres of woodland. I speak with Trudy Holden about the site.
So my name is Trudy Holden. I'm also known as Wild Samsara for my business, which supports women to connect to their natural cycles. So that's very much womb healing and connecting to their bodies. A big part of that work is holding ceremonies, particularly around the Wheel of the Year, to connect people back to the cycles of nature. And as our sacred ancient stones are a big part of the alignment and connection that we have throughout the Wheel of the Year, we always hold these here. The stones that are behind us are known as the Neolithic Long Barrow here at Kernowek. The family here that have lived on this land generationally have done excavations and found lots of arrowheads and offerings. The stones themselves have been found on the land, and through dowsing and through kind of mapping the land and recreating and remembering the history of it, the stones themselves have been replaced in position. So here at the sacred sites at Kernowek, we know and we've connected to the spirits and the guardians and the shamans that are protectors of each of the sites. So we always make an offering to these spirits and to these guardians and give our thanks and gratitude. And often we'll ask permission if we're doing a ceremony, we'll ask and honour them. When we enter the stones, we always give an offering to these spirits. I think we have moved so far in our kind of capitalist society, and we've realised that actually there's some ancestral intelligence that we've kind of lost along the way. We're really seeking some of those rites of passages and ceremonies that our ancestors really celebrated, and our ancient sites are a real remembrance of that. We were in union with them, so we didn't just see them as an external part of ourselves, especially the Merry Maidens and places where we actually did rituals where we used our bodies and the stones in ritual. It wasn't just that we went to a place, and that's kind of how we treat nature now. We just see it as an external thing we visit, and actually it is us. Looking back at some of these sites, especially the Neolithic, and realising that actually back in those days when our ancestors were creating these spaces, we were more in a matriarchal society, and actually we worshipped the goddess, the portal of creation. So a lot of our sacred sites actually emanate that concept of a womb, where life comes in and out of in this world. A lot of the cairns, a lot of the long barrows, a lot of the circles were literally emanating that kind of stepping into a portal. For me as a womb priestess, I work with the medicine wheel of the womb, and that is literally like a kind of a map, a portal of the earth as a living, breathing mother who has birthed us all. And this circle behind us is literally a carbon copy of that. So I really see that as, I imagine it being like a womb dark space that our ancestors would have gone into, placed their offerings of fertility, of wanting things for the next lunar cycle, and then coming back out of it feeling rebirthed and renewed.
Tucked away in a field just off the B3297, the 9 Maidens rest. Local legend has it that 9 maidens were turned to stone as punishment for dancing on a Sunday. In her book, Pagan Cornwall, Cheryl Staffron suggests the connection to the number 9 runs deep in our ancient Celtic past. 3 times 3, the triple goddess of maiden, mother and crone. Antiquarians Robert Hunt and William Hall suggest this site may indicate the graves of 9 sisters or nuns, given its other name, the 9 Virgins. There are, however, not 9 stones present. Possibly a stone or two are now incorporated into the field wall. These stones hold stories of autonomy. As Elizabeth Dale writes, to be turned to stone, these monuments must have been seen to be first living. At one time there must have been a belief they had life and energy in them. My journey across these ancient sites has taught me that although the purpose of many of these sites still remain a mystery, these sites are places where boundaries and borders dissolve, where we can feel ourselves as part of the world, away from the rush of modern life. These are spaces to reconnect with the wisdom of our ancestors, the wisdom of the land. The stones, like the natural granite cast up from the earth by nature, defy the centuries. To stand beside them, on the heights of West Penwith, is to become an astronaut in time. The present vanishes, centuries dissolve. Here, in the lichened stones, is the essence of memory itself. Belief in immortality, man's answer from the beginning to the challenge of death. Daphne du Maurier, The Claw of Cornwall.